Alright, so I want to show you this gas tank. Let me see that rust. It's mostly just around that top part right there. So actually down in the tank don't really look all that bad. It looks like a bomb went off over here. We got junk everywhere. I was afraid that our little tape wouldn't hold on the bottom of that thing, and apparently it didn't. Well, it looks worse now than it did before. Well, lovely. Oh my goodness. I didn't think there's that much rust in that thing. Yep, that looks worse than it did when we started. As far as I'm concerned, that was a fail. It looks worse in there than it did to start with. So we're gonna try something different, a different kind of anode rod perhaps, and a different type of electrolyte, because that don't look worth a flip. Okay, so here's a view from the top. So we got that a lot cleaner than what it was. Looks pretty good down in there. Welcome back, guys. We're gonna pick up on the electrolysis and cleaning the rust out of this tank this week, and getting this bike reassembled and getting it going, and try to end up with a little trail riding. Little backstory, this bike is a 2000 model DRZ400 Suzuki. I bought it brand new in 2000. So I've had it for 25 years, it's been a good bike. It kind of got neglected, kind of got set on the back burner and didn't get rode much, and then started getting a little rust in the tank. The pit cock rusted up, and I had to get a new one now. The carb was gummed up, so if you saw last week's video, we got that carb all cleaned up, put back together. But speaking of background, this thing's been in the background of just about every video I've made. I made a little 5-minute video back in August of last year when I had that swing arm off and was re-greasing those needle bearings and stuff in it. And it was sitting off over here in the corner, and it's got moved around a couple of times, and it's been in the back of almost every video I've made. So I finally got on the stick and got it put back together, and hope you enjoy the video. Ooh, that's slick. There, you want free for a second? There you go. Go around a little. Snowy day. Tear the door off the frame. What do you think? Good day to work on the motorcycle. Alright, so I want to show you this gas tank. I took that cap off of it. Get you up here where you can see this. Let me see that rust. It's mostly just around that top part right there. Yeah, let me take you off stand. I'll get you a close up of it. So actually down in the tank don't really look all that bad. There is some spots down in there. So anyway, first thing I'm gonna do is I have this rust remover and I don't have the brand on it back from when we was working on that tractor and stuff. I had that somewhat mixed up. I'm gonna pour it in there and we'll give it, I don't know, 24 hours, whatever, take a look at it and see what it looks like. All right, so I put a brand new petcock on the bottom of that thing because that other one had gotten a little rust on it and was stopping up. So I'm gonna take it off and see if I can't plug. Yeah, that don't fit in there. Let me grab a screwdriver. That ain't working. Nut driver, I guess. Well, let's try a wrench. Got it loose enough I can get it with a screwdriver maybe now. There we go. I'm about a pain in it. Alright, so I got that off of there. It's never had any gas in it since I put it in there. But you can see a little bit of stuff on that strainer there and the rust on the bottom of the bolts there. We'll clean all that up. And so I'll put something on the bottom of this here, seal this up, and we'll see if we can get some rust remover in there and get that thing cleaned up. Alright, so I got some of that Flex Seal tape. I'm gonna try to cut a little piece of it and just cover that right there, and we'll see if that works. This is the same stuff they put on the bottom of boats, and it supposedly still floats and don't leak, right? So we'll see whether that works or not. She's sticky, I give it that. Problem is, I'm not gonna have enough to fill that tank all the way up. Got less than a gallon here. This stuff's supposed to be good for a year. Of course, if it gets real nasty, you can't reuse it, but I don't even remember what I used it for, to tell you the truth. So we'll see whether this works. If it don't, we'll come up with another idea. Alright, so we'll go over here and pick up and work on that motorcycle a little bit more and let this sit, and then I may tape this top and flip it over. Anyway, we'll give it a shot. Okay, so while our tank is soaking with our rust remover stuff, we'll try to change this antifreeze in this thing. So there's a little old stop keeper screw right here on the radiator cap that you need to loosen out so it will turn off. Let's test this and see how it tests. It looks good, all nice and green. It says it's good to minus 29 degrees Celsius and minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It's testing fine. So I don't guess we will change that. Alright, so I done come up with another brainstorm here. I took that rust remover stuff that I had in there, which wasn't less than a gallon. That's a little over a 2-gallon tank, so I need something to fill that all the way up to be able to get that rust out. So I was looking at the electrolysis stuff. So here's what I've rigged up. I got me a little old alligator clamp. Took to the bottom of the tank right here. And I got me a battery set up over here. And I've got me I think that's actually a 5-gallon bucket handle. And I have straightened it out. It was in the scrap pile over there. Well, I say I straightened it out. I have bent it so that it's not touching the tank in there. So my idea here is we're gonna mix up some concoction and put in there. And I'm gonna hook this up to this battery that's on charge over here. And we'll have to put a little tape across that. We'll get this filled up. We'll put a piece of tape or something over that to kind of hold that in place. And we'll hook this up. And then I'm gonna hook these to positive and negative over there. And that's gonna cause an electrolysis in there. We're gonna mix up some garb over here. I'll show you. It's some, it's not baking soda. I think it's baking powder or something. It's Arm & Hammer and it ain't in the real box that it came in. So I have to look up what it actually is, and I'll put it on top of the screen right here. But let me take you over and I'll show you. Gonna mix that stuff up and pour it in here. All right, so what we got right here, I've got about a gallon of water in that bucket right there. Right now, I'm gonna pour some more in there. But we got this stuff here, and we're gonna put some out in there and mix up. And I don't know how much I need. I'm just guessing at it. So what we need is an electrolyte or something that will conduct electricity. So I'm gonna mix that up, and then I'm gonna get some more water in a pan here and pour that in there. I want a little over 2 gallons when we fill the tank all the way up. So I'll get this mixed up and I'll get you set up over there and we'll fill it up. All right, so I got my concoction mixed up, got it poured in there. I'm gonna take this rod and stick it down in here. And I also took some wax and put a little wax around this tank in case it spits some of that stuff out all over everything. Shouldn't really hurt the paint, but just as a precautionary measure. The wind is blowing like crazy outside. Oh, let me show you this rig. I made this out of a paint can. So I took a spray can, popped the top off of it. It's just a can of red paint. And so this part sits down in the center of that there, and this cap's on top of it, kind of keep it centered up. Just drill a hole in the middle of it and put that zip tie through it right there to kind of hold it in place. So then when we get that in there and it's matching the angle of that tank, and I'll put that wire across here to kind of hold it down before we hook power or anything to it. Oh yeah, that's good right there. That'll be lovely. Alright, put my ground to the ground over here. And we hook our positive to the positive, so that's going to be 12 volts, and then that charger is a 4-amp charger, so bring you down here and see if you can hear this. it's a bubbling in there, so that should be doing the business. That's our setup right there. I just got the battery charger hooked to the battery, and then these clips hooked to the battery charger. And that'll keep the charge in the battery and keep power on it. We'll let that sit there for about 24 hours. We'll come back and check it. Morning. It's blooming freezing out there. Just a little bit of snow left, still left froze on the ground. Come up here to check this electrolysis on this tank. It's been 12, 14 hours. Turn you around here and I'll show you what we got. So it looks like a bomb went off over here. We got junk everywhere. I was afraid that our little tape wouldn't hold on the bottom of that thing, and apparently it didn't. So I already disconnected that positive lead there. All right, let me set you up here and we'll open this thing up and see what's happened to it and see what we got to do next. Well, it looks worse now than it did before. Tape ain't exactly just peeling right off. All right, so I got me a plug made, or a cover made here. That'll bolt right on there. I'm just gonna leave this sticking out there and we'll hook our negative cathode connection to that. And I got a little mega gray here. So we'll take a little bit of this and just put around the seal part we want sealed right here. Just something else to have to clean up later, right? But if it'll keep it from leaking junk out everywhere, that's all we need. And I think also, since these screws screw all the way into the tank part, is I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the thread. We'll keep that from leaking through as well. So I guess we live and learn, right? We figure out what works and what don't work. And that one definitely didn't work, did it? I actually thought about this yesterday, and I thought that flex seal stuff might work. Which probably what happened is that liquid heated up with the electrolysis process and softened that rubbery glue material on that flex seal, and it just, well, you saw the results. And I actually had set that pan underneath this table. The table's got a hole in the middle of it right there. And I set that pan underneath it in case it leaked, that it might catch a little bit of it. And it did. It caught a little bit of it. Not a lot. My wife telling me breakfast is ready. sure is a good one. Can't take much time. She'll be mad at me if I don't get down there before it gets cold. So we'll let this sit here and set up, and then we'll come back, mix this up some more concoction, and get ready to try this experiment again. So it is blooming cold out here this morning. Sun's out, so it's supposed to warm up to like 35 today, maybe. So I'll get you back over here and get you set up. We'll mix up some more of this stuff, see if we can get this electrolysis to going. All right, so I've got what I think is about 2.5, 3 gallons of water in this bucket. And I did go look up this stuff that I don't have the box for, because it's been, I don't know, 3-4 years ago I had this stuff, and I was going to do a project like this and never did get around to it. So anyway, it's Arm & Hammer washing soda, not baking soda. So what's the difference? I guess you bake with one and wash with the other one. I don't know. In the stuff I was kind of look up, if I can get a picture of the box, I'll try to put it on the video here. I think this is a pH of about 8, and that pH is what you need. There's different things, if you look on the internet, that they use as an electrolyte, so that the electrons will flow for the electrolysis. I think we got a bunch of flash rust in there. So yesterday when I left this thing and it started leaking, and it leaked down, so all that top part that didn't have any liquid on it, it kind of flash rust again. So it looks worse now than it did when we started. So hopefully we can get this cleaned up, and then we'll just throw some, I got a gallon of WD-40, or I won't pour that much in it, but we'll pour a little WD-40 in it and slosh it around and keep it from flash rusting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's mix this stuff up, and we'll get it put in the tank and put a little in there and make sure that our patch that we put on the bottom there, our plug, is not going to leak where the petcock goes. And so we'll have the same disaster again. And so when I was looking at the Arm & Hammer washing soda, it was giving uses that it's good for. And one thing it was good for was cleaning garage floors. So that's a good thing, because we got it everywhere. And even though I wiped it up, it still looks like a mess. I may end up mopping in here, I don't know. So let's mix this stuff up. The old paint mixer works good. I didn't use that yesterday, and I can still hear the chunks flowing around down in there in the bottom, so it didn't mix it all up. That stuff has got clunky. It's several years old, so it'll still do the function, I think. If it don't, we'll back up and pump and try something else. The story that I heard about WD-40 was that WD meant water displacement, and the 40 come from it took them 40 times to get it right, so 39 times they missed it. So we're only on number 2. Maybe this one will work. I know what you're thinking. Wakefield, that looks sketchier than all get out. Perfect. It's just I don't intend to be in here very long this morning. We're just going to hook this thing up, get it started, and I'm going back in the house. So I just got my old dog walking overalls on. He's done went for 2 treks this morning. Bring you in here and let you check it out. right there. She's working. All right, I'm back. It's the next day. Our electrolysis is still cooking on the tank over there. It's been about 24 hours, and we'll get into checking that in just a minute. But before we do, I'm gonna clean up these side panels and air dams and stuff for the bike here. So I brought me up some hot water from the house because it's been below freezing here for about 3 days, and the water is working in the shop, but it is like liquid ice cubes. About fingers fall off, it's so cold. So I'm gonna clean this up and may even try to remop this floor over here where we spilt that junk the other day. So I'm gonna put you on time lapse here and I'll get back with you in a minute and we'll check that electrolysis and see how it's doing. All right, so we'll come back over here and check on our tank. And we'd prop that thing up with that piece of PEX there, and it's kind of folded down, which it actually kind of leveled the tank out a little bit. But looks like it's spit some stuff off, and there's some down in there in the tank. So if you listen, you can hear it. It's still bubbling there, so. All right, so I don't know how much our little green pan's gonna hold of what's in there. I don't think it'll hold all of it, but we can pour some of it in there and get an idea of what it's gonna look like coming out of there. I can get that wire off there we had her propped up with. Oh my goodness. I didn't think there's that much rust in that thing. All right, as far as I'm concerned, that was a fail. It looks worse in there than it did to start with. So we're gonna try something different, a different kind of anode rod perhaps, and a different type of electrolyte, because that don't look worth a flip. Yep, that looks worse than it did when we started. All right, so we're set back up over here in the sink area. I'm gonna leave this fuel tank in the sink for right now. I've got me a different anode than what I had before. I made one out of a piece of 3/8 all thread, and I've already fit it down in there. It's gonna work without touching anything. This is gonna be my tie down point here. So I've changed a couple of things, changed the anode, and I'm gonna use jumper cables to hook up to this where I got more power. I had number 16 wire run to it earlier, which should have been good for the 4 amp off of that charger, but we'll upsize it a little bit. I remixed some of the stuff, and this is a Arm & Hammer washing soda mix that I've had for years. It's been setting up, and I don't know, it should still be good, but it sure ain't been working on this, sir. Third time's a charm. If it don't work this time, we'll get something else. Some of the pH up stuff that you put in the pool, I have people using that, or I may just try some new Arm & Hammer stuff since this stuff is so old. Also, I mixed this up in hot water this time, where I've been mixing it up in cold. So we'll see if that makes a difference. It sure is a lot clearer right there to look at than it was before. It was all cloudy when we was mixing it up cold. We'll get it rigged up here in a minute. Seems pretty solid right there. All right, now let's hook her up down here. She's bubbling. Put this charger up here as well. All right. It's a charging and it's a bubbling. So I'll see you in the morning. We'll try it again. All right, so it's the next day. It's been about, I don't know, 14 hours maybe. And thing just don't sound like it's bubbling hardly at all. So we'll pull it out and see how it's doing. Let's disconnect our battery leads over here first. We'll go ahead and unplug the charger. Get some dikes to cut those zip ties. So it's got some rust on it, but it ain't really collected a whole lot, so I don't have a lot of confidence that we've had a major success here. So just a little bit of floaty stuff. That was pretty much clear still. And as far as in the tank, it may be just a hair better, but not much. So something went awry on that batch too. So I think what I'll do is go to town and pick up some more of that washing soda, or see if I can get some of that pH up stuff, and we'll mix us up a different kind of electrolyte, and we'll try it again. All right, so here's two of the items that the internet says that you can mix with water to make an electrolyte for the electrolysis to get the rust out of a gas tank. So they are basically the same ingredients. This is a laundry booster by Arm & Hammer washing soda. And so on the ingredients right here, it says sodium carbonate and water. And then on this pool pH up stuff, the ingredients is sodium carbonate 100%. So There's obviously no water in that, but I guess it's saying you mix it with water. Anyway, what I found was supposed to be a half a cup to 5 gallons of water. So I've got about 3 gallons here, and I'm gonna do this whole little pan full here, which is probably more like a cup. So I'm gonna be a little more than what they say, and we'll give it a shot. All right, so here we go. Our washing soda in there. I'm gonna mix it up with my paint mixer here. Got my funnel back here. I'll get that set up right there. All right, we're gonna put our anode metal down in here. And we're gonna need to reconnect our wipe that off first. Rub just a little wax on that too, just to protect the paint. It really shouldn't have any adverse effect on the paint, but this tank's still in good shape. We might as well do the best we can to keep it that way. Oh, that should be that. Let's see if I can hook her up over here now. I can hear a little bit. Alright, I'm showing 13 volts from the tank to the anode. And I can hear it fizzing just a little bit, so she ought to be working. Alright, so we're back. It's morning. It's been another 12, 14 hours, I guess. And just to listen at this thing, it's not bubbling at all. So I'm just going to check my voltage across here from the side of the tank. Showing 14.4 volts, so it's still got voltage going to it, but the stuff may have dissipated. It's not bubbling. So I'm going to take it apart and see what it looks like. So first order of business, we're going to take the positive side off. It's going to our anode here. We'll take the negative off, which is going under there to the cathode, and I also stuck another little jumper on there just to make sure that ground was good, and check that voltage there, and it looked pretty good. So all right, I'm gonna go ahead and move all of this. So that don't look a lot different from when we put it in there. I mean, it's gathered a little more rust on it, a little bit around the top there. So it all looked like that top when we first put it in there. Alright, so to me, that don't look a lot different than what it did. I'll bring you over here and show you what we got. So first in our bucket there, we've got a little bit of rust particles floating around there. As far as down in the material, not really anything. And in here, it looks pretty much the same as it did before. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get me a little piece of PEX. I've got some PEX over there, and I'm going to take one of these old rags, or a couple of these old rags, and see if I can zip tie them around the PEX or something. I'm going to stick them down in there and see if I can clean some of that out. And then usually they say it flash rusts real quick when you take this stuff out. Let's see if any of that. See, that's wiping off. So if I get that rag down in there with that PEX, maybe I can wipe a bunch of that stuff out. It may look better than what I thought it did. And then as soon as I get it wiped out and rinsed out a little bit, I've got so much used motor oil over here and some diesel fuel that I've rinsed through some of these old engines we've been working on. I may just fill it back up with one of those diesel fuel flushes that we've done, the old scrap stuff that I got over here, and filled up and let it settle a little bit where it just don't flash rust, And the lid that goes on this had a little bit of rust in it, and I sprayed it down with some WD-40, put some dry slide in it, and it's still a little stiff, so I've actually got it soaking in some oil over there now. And so I might let that soak a little bit with oil, and then we'll take some gasoline and pour back in it and rinse it out, and we'll clean it out again. And then I'll see if I can get my borescope, and we'll stick it in there and see if we can get a view of what it really looks like in there. Take that plate off the bottom down there, and we get a light from the top, borescope from the bottom, and then vice versa, and see if we can kind of figure out where the bad spots, or if there is any bad spots. And we'll see if we can get this thing back on the bike and get it fired up. So let's get into it. So I don't know how this is going to work, or if it's going to work at all, but we're going to give it a shot. Let me just see if I can get as much of this wiped out right here as I can to start with. Oh yeah, that looks 100% better right there, just wiping on it. Yeah, it's looking a little better, but I ain't reaching very much out, so I'll monkey with this a little bit, and I'll get back with you and give you an update. All right, a new idea here. I've got these little old screws, got a whole bottle of them right there, and they suggested on the internet like use drywall screws, but all the drywall screws I got are real long. So I'm gonna pour a handful of these in there, and then I'm gonna take some of this diesel oil I got here in the floor, pour about a gallon in it, and shake that stuff around and see if that will knock some of that stuff loose. That rag idea wasn't working out too good. Here's that lid that I just had threw in that, filled up with oil over there. The key obviously locks it. We'll throw that back on there in a minute too. So let's get a few of these poured in here. We may never get them out, but we may never get them in there. That didn't work out like I planned. So this is off-road diesel and motor oil, where I've poured this through some engine at some point. probably have to get the key to open this, put it on there. So that's working like a charm now. So that little bit of oil soak helped that out a bunch. There's also a little rust right there on top. I may hit that with a piece of sandpaper. Got some, I don't know, I think that's 220 grit. That ought to do it. Alright, so you get the idea. I'm going to mess with this for a while, get it cleaned out as best I can, drain it out, try to clean out the inside, rinse it out. We'll see if we can get a camera in there and see what it looks like. Pouring the liquid out won't be too bad till we get right down to the little bit at the end. The way that top of that fuel tank's made, it ain't going to let it just pour right out. Looks pretty rusty, so maybe we've knocked a bunch of that loose. Alright, tape measure is magnetic. So I can get this junk down in here where I can reach it. Look at that. It's 2% smarter than what you're working on. Ooh, 2 more. See what we got now. That's it. Alright. I'm going to pour a little gas in this and see if I can rinse some more of that out. So I'll get back with you. Attempt to get a couple of shots inside this tank here. I have a light sticking down through the fuel hole up there. There's still a couple of little spots up there toward the top. All in all, looks pretty good. All right, let's see if we can come down through the top. Okay, so here's a view from the top. So we got that a lot cleaner than what it was. Got that light shining up from the bottom there too. Can't really get looks pretty good down in there. Alright, so this is going to be difficult to film. So we're down in the bottom of the tank there at the seam. And so there's still a couple of little spots. Right there's a piece of that scrubby thing that I had in there. I have to blow that out with some air or rinse it out again. Wish I had one of those modern bore scopes so we could get in there a little better, but that's about as best as we got. So I'm still going to try to rinse it out just a little bit more, pour a little more gas in there, slosh it around, see if I can get them little pieces out. That piece of fibers off of one of them deals right there. I just fished that one out of there. I had 3 of them in there with them screws when I was sloshing it around. So I've got all of them out, and I can get my borescope all down in there, but I can't get my borescope in there and film at the same time. So yeah, it's not too bad there. So I'll rinse it out a little bit. We'll get her set back on the bike, so I'll get back with you. All right, I'm gonna try to set you up here where you can get a good shot of this. I went ahead and put that new pet cup back on there. Of course, these 2 little slots right here is gonna slide over this little rubber piece. There's one on the other side right there. And then the back of the tank, I got these set up here. These right here will fit right in there. Sit right there and bolt down, so we'll slide this thing down on there first. See if we can get her lined up. Feels like she's in there. There are little rubber boots in there. And then drop her 10mm screw in there. Don't feel real good right there. I like it better when you kind of put it in by hand. It's been a minute since those have been in there though. Yeah, I prefer it when it goes in like that. I believe that's good. Don't look bad for a 25-year-old motorcycle, does it? So I actually bought this thing brand new in 2000. And it has been a lot of fun. My idea was when I bought it that my wife would ride with me when I go on some of my mountain rides up here, and just a lot of beautiful sights to see. And so the first real trip I took her on, we had, she was kind of doing some house sitting, well, really just go check on it occasionally where some folks was out of town. So we made a big long, I'm gonna put that seat on before I put that light flare on. Let me stick this one on the radiator though. Anyway, I took her on a 100-mile trip. So anyway, I was saying I took her on a 100-mile round trip on the first ride, and she is riding on the back of this little seat right here. So that pretty much done it for that ride, you know what I mean? She wasn't interested in any more trips. These 3 screws out. And again, if you've watched my videos, I always put my screws back where they go. I try to leave them there till I reassemble. So it pays off when you don't get right back to it and it sits there for a little while, as this one has. The screws are in the holes where they're supposed to go, and you ain't looking through a bag or a baggie trying to find them. Or your toolbox lid, you know. Or the dash of your truck. I don't know where you put your screws. Oh man. There he is. The washer fell down in there. Starting to look like a motorcycle again. In the woods or whatever, that's a good hand hook to pick your bike up and drag it around. If you ain't never been in one of them spots, you wasn't trying hard enough. Alright, that's got all that buttoned up. I'm gonna set you up over here on this other side. I'm gonna grab me a gas line. I'm gonna try to put a fuel filter in line with that carb for right now. Run a couple of tanks of gas and see how it does. And then we might take it off. Might leave it on there, I don't know. Well, my intention was to put a little old inline filter in right there. But the filter I've got is longer than the space that I've got. So the only thing that would fit in there would be one of them little old red lawnmower filters. So I feel pretty confident that I got all the junk out of the tank. I rinsed it out again from when we looked at it with the pictures there, and then also blew it out with the leaf blower again. And then when I put this pitcock in there, there's another hose goes on back here. It's a vacuum hose. It's I think it's part of the prime deal. If you run out of gas or whatever, you got its own prime and reserve. And prime, I think the vacuum helps prime the carburetor. So we've been running it with that little fuel line coming down from the funnel there, so it should have enough in the carburetor that it'll fire right up. We should be able to just put gas in it, and we'll fire it up and make sure we ain't got no leaks here. That's the original hose, so it's hard as a brick. So we'll see whether it leaks or not. So I guess we pour a little gas in it, and we'll see if we can fire it up. I don't know, these new gas jugs, you managed to pour it all over everything. I've actually done a little work on this one as far as put a vent hose back here and put a screw in there to hold that snout down the whole time. We'll see what she does. Right, so I'm like, something don't look right with that seat. So there's a clip right here on the tank that I did not clip that part into. So that clips on there. This goes down under there, and of course it bolts on the back. So I'd take everything loose, put it back on there right. Do it right or do it twice, right? Alright, so here's my redneck iPro setup. We'll see how this works. Roots everywhere. Hit your head. Right in the face. That's what you need. What did I do with the lid to the wax? Oh, you're supposed to be watching me better than that. Alright, so the first test ride went pretty good. All that setting up the camera and moving it around through there like wore me out. And so I don't know if you noticed somewhere in the video there, the turn signal got gone. Well, I didn't drop it. Actually had it parked on a hill, which it's a hill everywhere around through there. Was moving the camera and I heard a thump and she took a dive. So went over here in the toolbox and drug out. Got a brand new old stock there, so I may bring you in and show you there. This has got JB weld around it right here, so that one had already been broke a few years ago. And I bought another one and never did put it on there. So got a replacement already for our goof up. Runs good. On the road, these boots just barely fit between there. And a buddy of mine gave me these boots, and I appreciate them, they're good boots. But they don't fit under that shifter very good right there. That was actually the first ride with these boots on this bike. And third gear, it kind of, third to fourth, it didn't want to. I don't know what the deal was. Of course, it ain't been rode in a while, so anyway. And seat height seems like it is. Let me look at this over here. I'll show you. So I wear 32-inch breeches, so I ain't got a little bit of short legs, but still, this thing has apparently got about a 36-inch seat height, because I can't reach the ground right there. And it had settled a little bit, but this time before I put it back together, put new gas nitrogen in the shock and reset my spring load on it. I had it on the low setting, and so when I bought this thing, be almost, well, 26 years ago now, I weighed a little less than I do now. So, so I bumped it up about halfway between the soft and the hard setting and regassed that shock. So she's setting up just like she did when she was new. And that seat's good and firm for riding, but it'll set you up for a pool game, if you know what I mean. All right, I'm going down here and try to edit some of these videos and see if I can get this put together. Appreciate you hanging out with me.